Today marks the unofficial start of the 2025 BYU football season, and one insider believes this version of the BYU Cougars is even better than the one last year.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. I'm Jake Hatch, executive producer at the KSL Sports Zone in Salt Lake City, Utah, and a 14-year credentialed media member at BYU. I am your resident expert and insider, your host here on this podcast. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances today and do it with Monarch Money. Go to monarchmoney.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege and get 50% off your first year. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about why one person that I trust implicitly when it comes to their takes on BYU football believes that 2025 could be an even better team than 2024. Then we're going to catch up with BYU linebacker Isaiah Glasker. Obviously had a big year a season ago. Helps to take it even bigger and better in 2025, and he'll explain why as we caught up at Big 12 Media Days. And we'll finish up today's show essentially recapping the last week in news, my superlatives and thoughts on the news that broke while I was on lake time last week at Bear Lake. All right, so without further ado, let's dive right in on today's show. And many of you know that I talk to people in and around the BYU football program often. Even though I was on vacation last week enjoying the raspberry shakes and the, let's just put it this way, incredible vibes that abound at Bear Lake. I go there every single year right before training camp begins. I had a conversation with one of the people that I trust, I said implicitly, when it comes to their takes on BYU football. I'm not going to name them because I'm not authorized to do that, but consider it a highly placed source. And the biggest thing to take away from this conversation I had with this individual is that they believe that this year's version of BYU could be even better than the one last year. Conversations I had with this individual last year gave me confidence that BYU is going to exceed all expectations. Remember, last year, essentially the expectations entering the 2024 campaign were to get to bowl eligibility. Then they roll out to a 9-0 record, end up going 11-2, a pretty electric bowl win over Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, and finish ranked 13th in the country. I consider it one of the top 10 at worst seasons in BYU football history, arguably could be top 5. It's one of the better seasons ever for the BYU football program, considering everything they were going up against that year. Well, this individual reached out to me, and we're going back and forth on some things about fall camp upcoming, and we had a conversation, and the question came up, and they essentially said, hey, here's the deal about BYU this year. I'm going to read this verbatim. Quote, so many people are writing this team off this season. I get that quarterback is a vital position, but writing off the talent on this year's team is unwise, unquote. My response, well, that feels like a similar vibe to last year, if I'm being honest. Underestimated and overlooked. That's my response to that. They added this, maybe with better talent. That's pretty high praise for a BYU squad that, remember, a lot of people believe that they are selling their stock in the BYU football program. Hi, Joel Klatt. But the bigger point to be made here is that BYU is a team that is made up the sum total of its parts. It's not wholly reliant upon a quarterback. And Jake Retzlaff, he's off to Tulane. I wish him the absolute best with the Green Wave and hope he absolutely kills it down there in New Orleans. I've got no ill will towards that young man, and I wish him the absolute best as he moves forward with his playing career. But BYU, all they can do is move forward themselves. And with players reporting tomorrow officially for training camp, it is go time for the BYU Cougars, and they believe that they could be even better. People inside this program believe they could be even better in 2025 than they were in 2024. Last year, there was a quarterback battle. We all remember it. Jake Retzlaff versus Gary Bohannon. Jake fended off a hard charge from Gary Bohannon in training camp, won the QB job, and as we just mentioned, led BYU to a pretty electric campaign, going 11-2, a bowl win, and like I said, a number 13 national ranking in the final polls. That's a pretty incredible year. For BYU to one up that, really what they have to do this year is make a run at the Big 12 title game, outside shot at the college football playoff, whatever it takes. That would be the way you one up what BYU did a season ago. And the good news is BYU is going to start the season, let's be honest, with a pretty soft schedule. And that's why a lot of people out there may be thinking the BYU may be a team that's really hot at the start of the season, but the back half is where they have to prove themselves. I'm going to throw this up here, let you guys see the full look at BYU's schedule. They open up against Portland State, as we all know, just 33 days away from today. Looking forward to that, obviously. Then they face off against Stanford, which could be one of the worst Power 5 programs in the entire country. Then you have back-to-back road games after an early bye week in week 3. You go to East Carolina. I'm not going to lie. East Carolina might be the toughest game. I'm dead serious about this take. Might be the toughest game in the first 6 games of the season for BYU. Then you open up Big 12 play on the road at Colorado. That's obviously an interesting game in and of itself. We'll keep an eye on that one with regards to the Buffs. Could be a bit of a transition year for Colorado, for being honest. Then West Virginia comes in, and West Virginia is expected to be bottom half of the league this year in their first year under Rich Rod. I would expect they have some talent, but making the cross-country trek on a short week, that should give the advantage to BYU at home against the Mountaineers. And then they finish up the first half of the season October 11th at Arizona, which traveling on the road is never an easy thing. But Arizona, outside of Noah Fafita, a lot of people are thinking that, hey, it's time to really sell all the stock in Brent Brennan and the Arizona Wildcats. So there's a decent chance, I should say, that BYU could be 6-0 out of the blocks here. Could be nationally ranked, being talked about as a Big 12 contender. But it's really, I think, the where this team will prove itself is in the back half of the Big 12 season, because you kick off the back half with a homecoming game against the University of Utah, it's your annual rivalry game. Then you're at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, and then home to TCU. That 4-game stretch right there, stretching into mid-November, is going to either make or break this BYU season, because outside of that, you go to Cincinnati and face off against UCF, both being programs they're going to be considered to be bottom tier of the Big 12 this year, it feels like. BYU easily could be 8-4 and have lost the 4 best games of the season. And as I mentioned, it could be a 4-game losing streak against Utah, at Iowa State, at Texas Tech versus TCU. That 4-game stretch will, I think, either legitimize or prove to people that BYU is nothing more than a paper tiger that ground out an 8-4 record without beating really anybody of substance. I think this is a BYU team that, if this person is to be believed, and as I mentioned, they were ones that were telling me, hey, you should really pay attention to this team in 2024, telling me that they were going to exceed expectations. And if they're right about that, this is a BYU team, a squad that you're going to want to pay attention to, because they've got everything, it feels like, going for them going into this year. Is this person right about this team? Well, they were right last year, telling me that they thought BYU could exceed expectations, and boy, did they exceed expectations. This year, the over-under win total for BYU right now from our friends at FanDuel says it's 6.5 wins. That's a 7-5 record, and you're over it. BYU 8-4 against the 2/3 of their schedule that people think are very beatable, but those other 4 games, that is where BYU will really prove, okay, are they as good as they were a season ago, or are they feasting on lesser opposition while losing to the better teams on their schedule? That's all something that will play out over the next 3 to 4 months. But hey, there's football in the air, folks. August is nearly here. I am back from my final vacation, and I don't plan on missing anything for the next 3 to 4 to 5 months. I'm looking forward to covering every single bit of BYU football and having it all for you guys right here on Locked On Cougars and the Locked On Podcast Network, where, of course, the motto is your team every day. Coming up next, we're going to catch up with Isaiah Glasker. Had an incredible breakout campaign a year ago. Could be in line for his final season to date in a Cougar uniform. Could be his final season in a Cougar uniform as well. He explains what he hopes to accomplish coming up next. One of the conversations I had at Big 12 Media Day, and we'll get to it next right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever wished managing your money felt easier? It feels like all of us could be better when it comes to managing that. But with Monarch Money, it can be just that. Whether you're growing your savings or planning on a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. The best part, it's more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, tracking all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth along the way as well. The best part about our friends over at Monarch Money is if you have a significant other that you're sharing accounts with, you can see all those accounts, you can see where each other are at, and the best part is you can have those open and honest conversations about where you guys need maybe cut back a little bit to be able to grow your savings for whatever is coming next in your life. So take control of your finances and do it with our friends at Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and get half off your first year. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Hope you all are doing fantastic out there wherever you are in Cougar Nation. Looking forward to this upcoming season. And one guy who's looking forward to it as well is Isaiah Glasker. Now, obviously had an incredible season a year ago. Who can ever forget that primetime shuffle he did right in front of Coach Prime, speaking of Deion Sanders, in the Alamo Bowl with that incredible interception. It really was kind of the crowning jewel of what was a breakout campaign for the BYU Cougars. And this is a guy who has gone from being a high school standout wide receiver to being a safety prospect that BYU brought in. And now he's a bruising 240-pound linebacker who stands all of 6'5" and is eager to go out and have his best season to date in a Cougar uniform, and very well could be his final season as a BYU Cougar as well if everything goes according to plan. But he has got big plans for the season ahead. There's a lot he still wants to accomplish as a member of the BYU football program, and in particular in leading Jay Hill's defense into 2025, where it could be even better than it was a season ago. Here's the conversation I had with Isaiah Glasker on the field at the Star in Frisco, Texas at Big 12 Media Days.
What's your favorite part about Media Day?
See, I'm more of like a high-speed type of guy, so really just the chaos. You know what I'm saying? I like the chaos, really.
Spoken like a true linebacker there. Now, obviously, with days like today, there's a lot of questions asked and like what your expectation of the upcoming season is. Obviously, you guys had a really, really good year last year. What are you guys looking to do as an encore this year?
Hopefully just get to the Big 12 championship. That's our goal, and then hopefully to the national championship. So I feel like we came up a little bit short last year, and I don't know, it's going to drive the boys to, work even harder this year. So
is that kind of the motivation, is just like, hey, we were so close a year ago, now we just got to break through?
Yeah, for sure. I was like, I don't know, just our workouts and everything, I feel like we're pushing just a little bit harder just so we can get that extra edge to hopefully get to that Big 12 championship.
What's it going to take in your opinion?
I know we have the skill, like we have the players to do it. It's just really I feel like we feed off of each other, and I feel like it's really just the bonding, you know what I'm saying? We come close as a team, we can really do anything.
Now, obviously, with college football, there's guys in and out of the program all the time. Do you feel like I know the majority of your guys are back this year. Do you feel like that's going to be an advantage for you guys?
I think so. I feel like we have a lot of leaders on this team that's going to help the boys lead. So I'm excited to see what we can do this year.
What's your favorite part about this team in particular? Even though the season hasn't started, what's your favorite part about this year's team?
That I can really just hang out with anyone on the team. Okay. It's like all of us can all hang out with each other. So I don't know, that's probably my favorite part.
Obviously, this defense had a really, really good year a season ago. You're bringing guys like Keanu, who's here obviously at Media Days. How much better do you think you guys can be on defense?
I think we could be good, just because with Keanu, it adds another leader. You know what I'm saying? He comes in, he hasn't even played a snap at BYU, but he's already one of our main leaders. And it's like, I feel like it's going to be he's going to help us to excel to where we need to be, and I'm really excited for it. So,
last year I was at the bowl game when you did the primetime shuffle in front of Coach Prime. Was that like a plan thing? Like, if I make a big play, I'm going to do this? Or was that a spur of the moment? Let's go.
I was talking about it to my family before. Okay. It's like, maybe if it happens, I'll just. But then, I don't know. I caught the pass right on the sideline. You know, I had to, just because even growing up, it's like Deion was my like favorite player going. I used to watch his highlights since I was like 6 years old. So
now, with you and Jack in particular at linebacker, obviously continuity there. How much better do you think you two can be as a tandem?
I think we could be pretty good, just because it's even me and him coming back. I was like, we're both leaders of on the team, so it's like, I don't know, we could just help other people that maybe young guys that need help. You know what I'm saying? Need to know the playbook a little bit more. I feel like we could help them.
Who is a linebacker that BYU fans probably should know the name of for this upcoming season outside of you and Jack, maybe Ciale probably?
I would say look out for Ace Kafusi.
Okay. Why?
Just because I don't know, his skill level, he's a dog. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying because all of the linebackers are dogs, but I would say just look out for him or Micah, really any of them. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can really go out there and make plays. So
now we talked about Keanu being a leader. How much better do you think this defensive line can be in front of you guys this year?
I think we could be pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Especially with him, like you said, being the leader, you know what I'm saying? He could, I don't know, just lead the boys up front. And it's like you got us, me and Jack behind. And Ciale, it's like really anyone can make plays, you know what I'm saying? I'm excited for our defense.
You expecting Jay Hill to put some wrinkles in?
For sure. You know him.
There's no way he can't, I guess, at this point. What do you like most about playing in his defense?
I don't know. He puts us in good positions to make plays. That's really what it is. And you've seen we won a lot of games last year, and I give a lot of credit to Jay Hill and the way he runs the defense is just because it allows all the boys just to basically come free. You know what I'm saying? We like the blitz and stuff. So, about me, I'm more of like I'll say like a coverage guy, but I like the blitz. But
you prefer to get the interceptions?
I like the interceptions. So.
Okay, very cool. Well, I guess last thing for me, what are your personal goals this year? Like, what are you looking forward to doing?
I don't really have too many personal goals. It's really just to help my team be great. You know what I'm saying? I really want a Big 12 championship just because I feel like we came short last year. So, I don't know. I feel like they say national championships change your life. I really want to see. So.
All right. Well, Isaiah, thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
There you have it, Isaiah Glasker. Big thank you to him for taking the time to join us here on Locked On Cougars. I look forward to seeing what this young man is capable of accomplishing. And I will also say this. This is a kid who is always exceeded all the expectations I ever had for him. I covered him in high school when he was at Brigham High School, and I thought he was a phenomenal wide receiver. And for the life of me, I was kind of baffled that BYU was bringing him in as a defensive back prospect. But hey, who is the fool? Yeah, it's me, because he has morphed into one of the better, if not one of the best linebackers in the Big 12, flanked only by his teammate Jack Kelly. The fact that neither one of them made the preseason All Big 12 team at linebacker is just an absolute joke to me, because I think they may be the best tandem of linebackers, those two alone. And you also had the likes of Ciale Acera, Ace Kafusi, Shea Bryant Struther, some of the guys the BYU has in this linebacking core alongside them. It's a formidable unit, and obviously a guy like Isaiah Glasker, he is going to be a sensation this year. I think people are going to be very, very intrigued to see what he does for an encore after what he accomplished a season ago. And it's not going to be easy to one-up what he did a season ago, but you can tell he's very motivated to do that. And more importantly, he understands that he wants to leave a lasting legacy for the BYU football program. The only way you do that is obviously have standout play on the field, but also have the wins that accompany it along the way. Had an incredible year a season ago as BYU went 11-2. Can he take that to the next level and lead them to a Big 12 title, lead them to the college football playoff? That is where legacies are made, and you can tell this is a young man who's very intent on building that legacy and ensuring that it's got some lasting quality to it. And I look forward to it because I think that Jay Hill, he is ready to really watch this defense bloom even more than it already has. You have guys like Keanu Tanavas, and I'll tease ahead to tomorrow, planning on playing my one-on-one. It's kind of my final interview I have not used from Big 12 Media Days with Keanu Tanavasa, but him leading the defensive line, if they get upgrades at that defensive line from BYU, how much more ferocious can guys like Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker be from their linebacker spots than they were even a season ago, where BYU was the best team in terms of interceptions and takeaways last year? How much better could they be with even better defensive line play in front of them? That's an intriguing prospect. And I know guys like Jay Hill and defensive line coaches, even the linebackers, speaking of Justin N as their linebackers coach, they're eager to see how much better this BYU defense can be. And Isaiah Glasker, he's going to be a big part of it, and looking forward to seeing what he's able to accomplish this year in a Cougar uniform. All right, coming up next, a lot of things happened while I was out. None of them, I guess, necessarily earth-shattering type stuff, but some news did break, and I will obviously want to catch up on those. So I'm going to do what I like to call some superlatives about the news that happened while I was out at Bear Lake last week, and we'll run all those down coming up next as we continue on right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, Obviously, all of us have been online at some point for some big event we're trying to buy tickets to. You're logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale or whatever other event, and only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about actually making memories, not dealing with the stress of that ticket shopping, and that's where our friends at Game Time come into the mix. They make getting your concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals to get you out to the events that you want to go to. You ever tried to scroll through all the different ticket listings trying to find the best deal? Well, Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in the section for you. And the best part is you always want to know what the view is going to look like. Well, in the Game Time app, you know exactly what to expect. You can see exactly what your view will look like at the venue you're headed out to. And the best part is with Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay with no hidden fees. It's right up front, telling you exactly what you're going to be paying right there in the app. So guess we're going to do it, buying your tickets and do it with our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Redeem the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, and of course, it's all guaranteed. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Hope you all are doing fantastic out there. I am refreshed, ready to rock and roll, and I am looking forward to this upcoming BYU football season. And hopefully some of you got some tickets. They have had record ticket sales. They have sold out their entire season ticket allotment. I think somewhere 43,000 and change season tickets have been sold. There are single tickets still available. You go to BYUCougars.com. I'm not being paid for saying that. I just tell you where to go to get those tickets, or you can hit the secondary market. But incredible response to what BYU accomplished a season ago, and looking forward to that. But while I was out on vacation last week, getting ready for this upcoming year, the first thing is that Jake Retzlaff officially announced he's headed to Tulane. Now, this is unsurprising news if you're a Locked On Cougars Insider Group member. I probably should have plugged that right away because I usually do that at this point in the podcast. If you have not joined the Locked On Cougars Insider Group, you get 2 full weeks of free access to my insider intel. And the best part is just $5 a month afterwards to be a part of the group. Click the link in the show notes below and join us today. I told our folks essentially a week ahead of time that Jake Retzlaff, he was headed to Tulane, and I wish him absolutely the best. I think that John Summerall, who was very clear that he recruited Jake while he was the coach at Troy coming out of junior college, is very eager to work with this young man. I fully expect that Jake Retzlaff probably ends up as the starter for Tulane. It just looks like he's the most experienced quarterback, dropping down to the G6 level with the American Conference. I think he is in a good position to succeed. John Summerall is a very offensive-minded coach. He has proven to put together pretty phenomenal offenses, and I think Jake will absolutely do some incredible things out there. Now, another connection to the American Conference came out last week, and that is that Memphis tried to essentially buy their way into the Big 12, a la what SMU did to get into the ACC a couple years back. They offered $200 million apparently, and taking no fees or whatever, take no payouts for the first 6 years to the Big 12 if they were granted membership in the league. They also said they would be willing to essentially put into the parameters of their deal with the Big 12 that if they did not prove to be a revenue generator by the time the next media rights still came around, the Big 12 would have the option to essentially boot them and send them on their way. I look at it on its head and say, okay, that's advantageous if you can have an ironclad agreement that in 5 or 6 years' time, if Memphis or when Memphis proves that they're not the revenue generator they believe they are, then you can kick them out of the league. Go for it. But here's the deal. $200 million, I don't know, because it's a significant amount of money. I get all that, and it would obviously be a financial windfall for BYU, but is Memphis the name brand that brings the prestige you want to the Big 12? I don't think so. I think you do what the reports out there are that the ACC, it's going to blow up in the next 4 to 5 years, and there's going to be schools bolting the league. Well, guess what? Stand by and then see what comes available. Miami, Louisville, who knows what happens with the ACC? Those are more of the schools that the Big 12 should be looking at. Yeah, if Memphis, if it comes to it, maybe you do add them at some point down the line, but now's not the time to do that. You don't need them to come into this league. And everybody I've talked to that's dealt with Memphis over the last little while believes that they are more of a headache than they're worth. So I don't know. I see the money sitting there. You're like, okay, $200 million. That's nothing to turn your nose up at. But Big 12 essentially said, thanks, But no, thanks. We'll be all right. And I think you just kind of stand idly by and see what happens. Taden Kaava from Orem High School committed to Alabama while I was out last week. That was not unsurprising news. He did have BYU in his finalist group, but everything I'd heard about him as a quarterback prospect was that Alabama was the odds-on favorite for him. I wish him the best down there in Tuscaloosa. And yeah, good luck to him. I'll obviously be tracking high school football this upcoming fall. I may have a chance to get out to an Orem game and maybe catch up with him at some point and talk more about why he picked Alabama over BYU. But stay tuned for that. I was not surprised by Taden Ka'awa picking the Crimson Tide. Now, also, some news came out. Matt Mitchell sent out a picture with his quarterbacks, because now he's the assistant quarterbacks coach for BYU, of guys like Steve Young and John Beck being in Provo, Utah, working out with the current BYU crop of quarterbacks. That included McKay Hillstead, that included Trayson Bourget, Emerson Geilman, and obviously Bear Bachmeyer. Having legends like that in and around the BYU football program, it's an incredible thing. The more BYU can do to connect its present with its past, it's always a good thing. I would bring all those quarterbacks around. Bring Giff Nielsen around. I get Elder Nielsen now because he was a 70 for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Bring him around. I'd bring Gary Scheide around. Heck, any of these quarterbacks, Ty Detmer, anybody who has got a connection to one of the greats from BYU yesteryear, get them in the program, get around these quarterbacks, and help these quarterbacks understand what they're dealing with when it comes to potentially being the face of the BYU football program. I don't think that these four quarterbacks in the quarterback room for BYU are under any illusions of what it's going to take for them in terms of lifting BYU football. But at the same time, I hope they don't feel like they have to lift it all themselves, because they don't. Quite frankly, they do not have to do the heavy lifting themselves, because I mentioned in the earlier part of today's podcast that the sum total of BYU last year is why they went 11-2. It wasn't simply on the arm of Jake Retzlaff, and in many respects, it never was on the arm of Jake Retzlaff in many of those games. The defense, the special teams, the offense as a whole, they made up for whatever BYU lacked in any one of those games. And if they can get that same type of contribution across the board this year for BYU, I've got no problem seeing what BYU is capable of, because I really think they got a lot going for them looking at what this squad is made of. Other things that came out last week. Oh, I also should mention the changes with BYU and their athletic department. Travis Hansen is an absolute home run hire to bring in as a senior associate athletic director to run NIL and the revenue share for BYU athletics. You want people who know what it takes to make big money. And Travis obviously made big money as a basketball player professionally, but he's gone on to found multiple successful companies since his playing days ended. And having real world experience like that coming into the BYU athletic department, in addition to Travis Hansen being, Travis Hansen, because he's just an absolute BYU legend, he is an incredible, valuable asset to add to BYU. The fact that Kalani Sitake has added an associate athletic director title to his role, that's obviously awesome. Diljit Taylor, her strategic thinking on the women's side of things is invaluable. She's working with Nike very, very heavily on that side of things, in addition to her coaching responsibilities for women's cross country and women's track and field for BYU. But those two, they're visionaries, and their vision and obviously being able to kind of look out and see what's coming on the athletics side of things are going to be invaluable for guys like Brian Santiago as he settles into that athletic director chair. I was pleasantly surprised to see the moves that Brian made. I think he's surrounded himself with an incredible group of people that have got a lot of different skill sets and mindsets when it comes to athletics, because you've got to be flexible and you got to be able to kind of deal with things as they come. Speaking of BYU in this new era, and I think Brian Santiago has had a very forward-thinking mindset on this, but I think the crown jewel of all the changes made in the athletic department leadership group, Travis Hansen coming in to help out with that revenue share and understanding what it takes to get NIL done, and obviously with real-world experience, having built companies from the ground up. Yeah, that's awesome, because a guy like that cannot be overstated what he could mean to BYU football down the line. And I look forward to seeing what he's capable of accomplishing with BYU. And I look forward to seeing all the different things with the enhancements to their athletic leadership team. So be it. But I really do think they did some incredible stuff. And also, I should say also, congratulations in order to Dallin Moody, who's now the deputy AD at BYU. I didn't know a ton about him, but talking with people in and around BYU athletics that know Dallin, they said that is a very, very savvy hire. He is the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer for BYU Athletics. To have a guy who knows what it takes to generate revenue and obviously find that money for BYU Athletics, it's a great thing to have a guy like that. And he's actually left and come back to BYU because he loves the university that much. And I think that's a very valuable thing to have in the BYU athletic department. And also congratulations to Chad Lewis and Casey Stauffer now getting senior associate athletic director roles, because their two visions as well for athletics are invaluable. They've been inside the BYU athletic department for quite a while. So really impressive stuff. And I think I covered all the BYU related news there from the week that was. So as always, thank you for all your support. It's good to be back. Tomorrow is, I guess, the official start of BYU training camp with players reporting. Expecting to be out there in Provo later this week for our first media availabilities of training camp. Obviously bringing you up to the minute coverage when it comes to BYU. So be a part of the insider group. Get all those updates coming to your phone via text message from myself. But as always, make sure to check out this podcast every single day as well. Stay up to date with everything BYU. So as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. And once again, thank you for being an everydayer right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.